Heavyweight bout, Shamil Gaziev sitting at plus 150 against Martin Buday, sitting at minus 180. Over under 1.5 rounds, minus 200 for the over, plus 165 or the under. The undefeated Shamil Gaziev making his UFC debut at 33 years of age. Buday, 32 years of age, and has not lost in the UFC. 5-0 in his last 5. Gaziev fought on the Contender Series this season, and he picked up a win in the first round via rear naked choke. Sat him down with a nice shot and then got on top of him and submitted him. But, I mean, look at who he fought. It's not like anybody crazy. The guy that he fought was Greg Velasco, who was much smaller, a little bit, chubbier. And Buday's a big guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're both big guys. They're both 6'4", every bit of 265. So heavyweight, lower level, but not like super low level where you're like, yeah, it's just like greasy. I don't want to get too involved. I mean, Buday has picked up some good wins, but Gaziev being thrown into a decent opponent here in Buday. What are you thinking?
Yeah, at the beginning of the breaking down all the fights and watching film, like I really want to take Gaziev as a dog here. He's got great. I don't even want to say his cardio is great for that big of a dude, but first half of fights, he's in there. He throws good volume. He's very powerful, and if he does get on top of you, he's very good with his control. He's very heavy on top. And if you watch some of his fights, like the dude lands some devastating elbows and ground and pound. He's just a very strong guy to get caught underneath like that. But when I look at his record, before the Contender Series, he fought in Brave, got some wins. But before that, he's fighting guys that are 2-0, 1-0, 0-0, and that's in 2021, just 2 years ago. And then after those wins like that, they give him a guy who's 13-0-1, and he goes to a split decision with them. So it makes me wonder, like, how he's really going to pan out against guys at the UFC level. Like Martin Buday doesn't blow you away with anything he does, but he's solid with everything he does. 100% takedown defense. It's not going to be easy to get him down by any means. He throws 5.62 significant strikes per minute for a heavyweight. That's a good number for a heavyweight. That's some great volume, considering that 3 of his 4 fights in the UFC have gone to a decision. So that means, he can kind of keep up the pace longer than most heavyweights as fights go on. So if you can't put him out, which nobody has, you're going to be in some trouble, if he makes this fight extended. In his last fight against Josh Parisian, who's not that good, he did exactly what he had to do. He went in there, he landed a lot of significant strikes, he got the takedown, and he finished him with a round 1 sub. I liked seeing that out of him. He showed a lot more urgency in that fight than he has in the past. So, overall, I think he's just going to get a little bit better each time in there, show us a little more. And being 6'4", 265 is not going to be an easy guy to go in there and bully like you'd think Gaziev is going to try to do, or he's going to need to do to get the win. All that being said, I think Buday is going to be able to stuff any takedown attempts. On the feet, he's going to have the volume. He's going to have the better cardio. And overall, he's just going to be just a little bit better of a fighter. This is sloppier heavyweight fighting, though. And I think Gaziev will be the sloppier guy. And I think Buday will be the more technical, composed, and just more well-rounded here and able to fight wherever it goes. So I think Buday does get the win here. This is definitely a massive, massive step up for Gaziev as far as competition goes.
Yeah, this is like I like Buday, but then I look at who he beat in the UFC. Like, yes, they're UFC fighters, but they're the bottom of the barrel. Like Parisian, Collier, Dresky, Chris Barnett. Like, those were his UFC. That's like probably the 4 worst guys in the UFC heavyweights. So
yeah,
I don't like that, and it almost feels like a Buday is like a stock you want to get rid of because he's on that win streak, but he's just not really beating very good guys. Gaziev, he's fought some decent guys. Like Darko Stosic was in the UFC, not anymore. He's in KSW. He's been doing some good stuff in KSW. And then this guy, Kirill Kornilov, who's 15-1-1, his only losses to Gaziev, is a decent opponent as well. So I'm almost tempted to just, take Gaziev as an underdog because it's heavyweights, and Buday is a guy that I feel like is a guy you want to fade eventually. Maybe this is the point. But Gaziev making his debut, it's like, I don't know how it will look against, Buday, who's been in there before. But I mean, it's kind of a time that Gaziev's got to go. I mean, he's 33 making his debut. So for the pick, I'll take Gaziev. I just don't really like the chalk on Buday because in a lot of these fights, it's like he can get hit. He can take a punch, but he can get hit. He can get hit a lot. I mean, he took 118 from Dresky, 94 from Collier. Like, these are pretty close fights. Split decision to Dresky and a pretty close fight against Collier. So I think the value is on the dog here, and you're just taking a shot on a heavyweight guy that has looked good on the regional scene. He's undefeated. Plus money on an undefeated fighter is never a bad thing. So I'll take Gaziev for the pick.